We are back again. Wake Up MLS is here after a slight hiatus. I would say maybe a week and a half and 2 weeks. So again, if you're watching this video, man, we appreciate you guys coming back into the channel, coming back into the series, and we got a juicy one for you today. So as part of today's video, what we're going to be doing is ranking what I would call the at-risk managers in Major League Soccer. We have approximately 10 to 11 managers in tier list fashion that we're going to be ranking on the back of the most recent news around Caleb Porter being fired from the New England Revolution, a move that was probably coming for some time now. But again, it does tee up this discussion around who else is potentially at risk for being let go, for being sacked when the season's over, especially for those managers who don't make playoffs, who already have some pressure being leaned upon them. We're going to talk about all of that today. And as usual, I got a great panel of co-hosts with me to break it all down. We have John Rollins from Loud and Proud Orlando, Hector from Insert Name FC, Davi from the Blue Burrows Pod, and Hitman Honda all back with me again today to help me rank every one of these at-risk managers. All right, guys, let's jump into it. I'm going to go ahead, kind of tee up our tier list here, and everybody can kind of see on your screen. We have 4 specific tiers for today's video, and you can see how they rank on your screen. All pretty self-explanatory, so I'm not going to sit here and kind of break it all down for you. If you need help understanding what the tiers, drop a comment down below. I'm just kind of curious who that might be. All right, man, let's start off. You can see all the headshots down below. We got about 11 managers here. I'm really curious. Again, guys, if you want to see us put together an entire full 30 manager ranking tier list on this channel, drop a comment down below. Let us know. I would love to do that video. But again, I want to make sure it's what you guys want. All right, Honda, talk to me, bro. Greg Vanney is the first one up. MLS Cup champion, now sitting in dead last in 2025. How do you feel about this manager? Where do you put him?
If we're just going based off of this season, he would have been sacked 2-3 months ago. He wouldn't have been there because the Galaxy of what they are. But considering the facts that he lost players in the offseason because of wage restrictions, international slots, etc., right? That and the MLS Cup, it gives them some form of leeway. I think, I mean, I want to go cheeks are on fire, right? Just because personally, I'm just like, you know what? If next season you start off like this again, you're done. You're out. But it's not his fault because of the fact that MLS rules, regulations restrict them. He had to release a lot of players to get to where they're at right now.
I agree with that to an extent. I will say he also has the luxury of being in a mass market and being able to attract some of the best talent that Major League Soccer has in the league across the board, right? So I agree that like he's earned himself some grace from last season. You have to factor in the fact that, bro, I mean, they absolutely dismantled this team, at least for some of the star players, because of how the rules are structured. But in terms of like what, like think about being Will Kuntz right now, right? Are you really going to go out and look for another manager to do more with this team than we've already seen Greg Vanney do? No. I don't think so. Like, I really don't. Like, it feels like his job's decently safe. But the reason I'm not putting him in this tier right here is just because, bro, you have still, even with some of the pieces you've lost, bro, as a Dallas fan, I'd take some of those right now. Right now. Give me some of those.
And he's working on it too. Like, he's getting a little bit better throughout the season. Like, it's not where we want to be at right now, but like this past weekend, I thought we were going to get clapped by Seattle again.
Yeah.
We brought it back 2-2.
Fair.
Like, it's showing signs of being that Galaxy from last season again.
And this form of Seattle right now, bro, I mean, to go toe-to-toe with that team, to bring it back, like I said, there's just inklings of this team hopefully bouncing back next season. And I can't believe I'm saying hopefully, because for anybody who's watched MLS for years on end, Galaxy have been the evil empire for fucking ever. So, like, the fact that I'm just like, yeah, hopefully they find a way to make it work, it's kind of wild. But everybody agree here?
Well,
any hard disagreement?
There's also because there's a new evil empire that doesn't have an empire.
Doesn't have an empire. I think it's going to stay that way. We'll talk about them. We'll talk about their managers in this list. You guys can probably guess who that is, who Hector's referring to. Any disagreements here, though, with Vanney?
No.
Yeah, I like this. All right, man. Let's turn it over to Hector for his manager. I think this one was interesting because originally when I thought about this, Hector, I did not have Ben Olsen as like, I guess, somewhat at risk. I feel like he's bought a certain amount of, I don't want to say loyalty or grace, but I don't know. I feel like to an extent you guys appreciate him, and the front office does to an extent too. You brought him back, right? Like I don't know. To me, he could be at risk, but I don't have a pulse on Houston as a fan base. You do. So what do you think?
I think with Ben, it's tricky, right? Because I think I trust me, I've seen like the posts whenever Dynamo have like these, and it's kind of like right now it's been an ongoing recipe, right, with the Dynamo, where it's just, you know, they have a lead and in the final minutes they just give it away, or they tie the game up and then they give up a goal, and it just repeats itself. Now, I don't think it's all on Ben Olsen. I think that there's a combination of, once again, and I think we talked about it when we went into the season, which was you lose guys like Okakaraskia and you lose Ache and just hope that, you know, Jack McGlynn could just do it all, which it kind of seems like it. That's
he kind of is. Kind of is.
But then there's no other players that are stepping up. And like, I mean, I make jokes on our group chat where I'm like, oh, look, Ponce might leave, and then he starts scoring goals somewhere else. And then
yeah.
And I mean, despite all that, Ponce is still finding ways to score goals. But things just seem like it's missing. I think also Nelson Quiona's being out kind of also doesn't help as well. And there's other factors going into Ben Olsen's situation. But also that at the same time, like, what is Pat and Asher doing with as far as player acquisitions? Like, I just don't think that you really solved a lot of the attacking issues that the Dynamos had for quite some time. And then you bring in this guy, I forgot the guy's name, the one that we brought in from England, and then now we just send him back on loan to England because he's just not playing. And I don't think I've seen that guy start once. So it's just weird moves that they're making. I'm interested in what's going on with Pat Onstad, but the comments that I also heard is like, oh, this is kind of the I guess what comes with Ben Olsen, like have a few good years and then he goes into become why he got fired from DC United. But I think it's a combination of a lot of things that happened for the Dynamo this season. I think, once again, you lost two really good players that do provide a lot of creating. And I think they really haven't found that player just yet for them, once again. And also Jack McGlynn, like he's gone. Like he's not coming, you know, like he's going to get sold.
Yeah. So it's basically not his fault then.
It's not his fault. I don't think it's his fault at all. I know that there's some Dynamo fans that want this guy out. But at the same time, like, who's out there that makes you want to say, like, bring him in?
Jim Curtin.
Luckily, he's in contact with.
Luckily, he is crazy. Bro, why does this show hate Jim Curtin so much, bro?
It's his arrogance, man. It is the arrogance that this guy provides.
Without backing himself on the pitch.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. And yeah, I mean, there's obviously those rumors now are swirling, right? He might be back in MLS.
No, I will say,
hold that, Jim Curtin, hold that.
I will
crazy.
I will say though, with Caleb Porter available,
hey,
Pat Onstad, you know they won an MLS Cup with Columbus.
Not a crazy shout, bro. And was honestly doing crazy shit with Portland too. And again, that's why I also thought like Caleb was going to be somewhat more successul with the Revs, but it never even had a chance. I think
it's just New England. I mean, that what's his?
Before the scandal around Bruce Arena, yeah. But they were moving, bro. They were like in second in the East a couple years ago before that whole like his abusive demeanor, like whatever the case happened.
They were on course to finish top 3, and then the whole thing came out, and then they kind of dropped
just
a bit,
fucking tanked,
and then just never recovered.
And now most of and half the rosters now is over in San Jose.
Yeah. So again, right, good players, and so like Porter should have been probably a little bit better set up for success, but neither here nor there.
I mean, hey, if it wasn't for one of these managers that we're going to talk about today, they probably win an MLS Cup.
Yeah, you're not terribly wrong. Not terribly wrong. So Ben Olsen, I agree with this take. I didn't think about him as being someone at risk, but I can see how maybe some of the fans, again, when you think about who to blame for some of this, me personally, it's more of the front office, but I think everybody at some point looks to the manager, right? If you can't make it work, is there another manager out there that can make this work? But I do think that with some of the pieces that have been brought in, like you mentioned before, who's been moved on, I don't think it's his fault, man. And I feel confident if they were to give him the pieces he wanted, this Houston would actually be pretty close to, what was it? Was it 2024 or 2023 when you guys made that run in playoffs and everything else?
I mean, like, whenever the Dynamo are like at least moving in the playoffs, they tend to go pretty far. They have like, I mean, last year, if it wasn't for Goka Karaski wanting to throw some hands in game one, and then Achi spitting in the vicinity of a referee, like, which was it was carbon copy. Game one and game two was a carbon copy of each other.
Yeah, it wasn't full on Luis Suarez, but he did turn and, like, you know, do that, you know, he spat. I mean,
it was just hilarious because I was like, I feel like I'm watching the same game, and I immediately did I miss Sean Young? No, I didn't.
Probably.
I did but I did constantly apologize for anyone that had to watch that matchup because that was
just 0 goals in like open play. It was like
it was terrible.
It was 3 legs of nil and penalty.
But if you're a fan of the Salvadorian League, I mean, it's right on cue. So,
all right, we're moving on. All right, Ben Olsen's going to stay up there at the top. We'll see who joins him. All right, I'm actually going to flip things over to Davi, and I wanted to see if we could chat really quickly about Deila. I feel like we haven't had a good conversation about Ronny Deila in some time, but I think we knew right from the start of this season how much we talked about Atlanta falling flat on its face with the signings they've made, how much pressure there was going to be on Deila coming into this season to really produce and win from the get-go, considering how much money they spent. They're nowhere near that mark. Davi, where's your I know you love Ronny Deila for what he accomplished in New York City FC, but from your perspective now, right, that he's moved on and coaching another team, where do you see Ronny stacking up in this tier list?
It's either between tier 2 and tier 3. I don't think he gets quite sacked just yet. I think they might give him a little bit of 2026, and if it repeats again, if they have a start like they did it earlier this year, I think he's probably gone by April next year.
I think this is like the highest I would put him. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Is that crazy take? Like, I feel like Atlanta is looking at Deila like, bro, we gave you the pieces. What the hell are you doing,
dude? I just think they probably gave him too much all at once, and it was probably too tall of a task, and it could also be maybe Almiron's just not the same player that he once was in MLS when he was coming up.
Yeah, that's for sure. But what about like guys like Latte Loth? You know, what about
are these players that he wanted though? That's the question. Because if they're not players that he wanted, then that's an issue, not just on the coach, but that's on the staff.
Yeah,
I don't know. They really pushed for Latte Loth though. They really did make a push.
Miggy was more so of a I feel like that was a pandering addition. I mean, he's obviously a good player. We've seen him play well, but obviously, I think that his return was more so Newcastle was trying to move on from him.
This is sentimental, something.
Once again, it's a pandering pick. Like they went after him purely for the fans.
Yeah,
and which wasn't a bad idea. I thought that he would come in and be impactful. He kind of looked, at least initially, that he would be. But I don't know. There's so many question marks with Atlanta.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. For me, this is the highest I would put him. In fact, I'm not saying he's sacked in the morning, but it's just like it's so much pressure that has to be built up at this point. And you hear the rumors of cultural issues, locker room issues, potentially, things just not meshing on multiple levels. And I feel like the easiest decision you can make as a front office is to get rid of the manager.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but I think they might stick it out with Ronny just because they threw so much money at this project. So they're like, all right, we got to make it work. And if it doesn't, say they give him, I don't know, maybe 7-8 games of next season. And if it doesn't work, they probably just rip the Band-Aid off and start over. But
or you should have just secured Valentin.
Yeah, bro. I was saying Rob Valentino is probably laughing his ass off somewhere. 1000%.
Keep the continuity in there. But I mean, the situations he came in from Atlanta are completely different from when he came in from NYCFC. Because at NYCFC, that core of players, they were already together for at least 2-3 seasons. They just had to get acclimated to his playing style.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's so many question marks here. But are we okay with this?
Also, on the flip side, Valentino was with the roster that they had the year before and got them to have one of the biggest upsets in MLS history.
After losing all 3 DPs. After selling off everything, Almada, Giacomakis,
remember how crucial
they were. To that
having one of the most improbable playoff victories in this league's history.
Facts, bro. Big facts.
It was pretty sound.
They were America's team literally for like a good week and a half period because of how MLS playoffs are, of course, structured. Right, probably like a 2-week period if we're being honest. So,
if I'm being honest, I know we're going to get to them, but I think that was Miami's best chance at an MLS Cup, and they threw it away.
We'll get to him. We'll get to him. Before we move on from Deila, John, any notes here? I know you're a big fan of Atlanta United.
I think he should be sacked in the morning, bro.
I knew it.
That's
bro.
not an exaggeration. They spent
$60
$60 million on 3 DPs over the last 2 seasons, and like this guy was. I mean, yes, he was good with New York City all those years ago for Davi and won the MLS Cup. Then I get that, but what have you done for me lately? And we're talking about this season. I think it's horrible. Like they are in 13th. The attack they've spent so much money on is one of the most disappointing parts of the team. The defense is still terrible. He's had all season to figure it out, and it's just gotten worse. So I think epic failure. Like look at the money they spent. I would get rid of him now. I would have got rid of him in the summer.
See, John personally would not get rid of him because he would want him there. Because
yeah, right. Well, like if I was,
he's like, you know what, keep Deila, fuck it.
He's gonna turn things around, guys.
It's on the executives that went from Miami to there, right? To be like, hey, we're the best executives in the league, and then spent all this money on these guys that are now not producing. So, how much of it are you going to put on Deila? But the players they spent so much money on, they can't walk away from that. But you can walk away from him, and someone else could use them and make them much better.
I think to that point, earlier this season when Atlanta came up to NYCFC, the reason why Deila left is because he thought the NYCFC wasn't as ambitious and they didn't want to spend as much money as Atlanta spent earlier this year, and that's one of the reasons why he ended up leaving back to Europe. And I think if you put 2 and 2 together, maybe Ronny did push for those big name players, and and he just wasn't able to get it all together. So.
And something to keep in mind, bro. Caleb Porter just got sacked. He's 2 places ahead of him in the table. His team has scored more goals and conceded less than this Atlanta United team that has spent a shit ton of money. I can only imagine what Caleb Porter might be thinking watching Deila still in that manager seat for Atlanta.
And they're 6 points better as well.
Yeah. So I think you look at all of this, right, combined. Bro, I'm actually kind of inclined to agree with John. No bullshit. I might throw it down here.
It might be a sack in the morning.
I mean, they got 2 more points than Montreal, 1 more point than DC. Like,
and I believe they're also mathematically eliminated from playoffs. I think playoffs is out of the picture for them.
Yeah, Atlanta, you know what to do. You know what to do. Got to get rid of them, man.
I mean, also not only that, conceding 5 goals in the first half at home is that's a
diabolical.
Yeah, I watched that game.
I mean, hilarious. You're close to losing your fan base.
Yeah. I think it's pretty clear, guys. I think it's pretty clear. I'm glad we talked ourselves into that too, because I think at the end of the day, like, got to hold a bar, especially considering how much they've spent.
I'm always happy to share my Atlanta hatred with you.
Let's go.
Time that you
Let's
want.
go. W. John. All
right. I think that's the reason why NYCFC refused to spend as much money for Ronny than this.
It's always the risk, right? It's always a risk spending, opening up the wallet and spending a shit ton of money because you just don't know how it'll work in this league in comparison to others out there. So if you do, you got to be very calculated in your approach. And I think,
unfortunately, his departure led to Cushing Ball, and
okay, we're moving past that point. Cushing, still one of the better managers in NYCFC history. Okay, so, all right, let's go to Chris Armas. I'm kind of curious about this one. This was really interesting to me because speaking of spending a lot of money, and it may not have been to the extent of Atlanta United, but remember a couple seasons ago when they hired Armas on the back of a Nottingham Forest-like transfer window when they brought in, I don't even know how many players. And then even since then, right? Fine, they let go of Georgi Mihalovic, but then they bring in Paxton, right? And so they're still giving him pieces, still trying to help Colorado be relevant at the top of the West, much less the rest of the league. And I still am not super convinced by this team. I don't know if it's Armas, I think when I hear it from the fan base on the timeline, they feel like it's more, much of the complaint is more centralized towards the front office and not having ambition. But I still feel like Armas was hired to do a job, and he's so experienced in this league. He knows MLS better than most managers.
Manchester United assistant.
Yeah, Manchester United assistant with the AirPods going, bro. Yeah,
he got to coach Ronaldo.
Yeah, so he should easily win MLS Cup by now. So when you think about all of that context, where is he if Colorado finished in the exact same spot? They get to playoffs, first round exit. What does that look like for Armas?
But you got to think of the team as well. Colorado Rapids, like, are they really? Well, they've
They're
shown
a decent team on paper, bro. They're not a bad team.
Like, they're more ambitious than before, but as a freaking organization as a whole, I don't think they expect much more than that, at least right now.
It's like that's the Kroenke effect. That's honestly really the Kroenke
I guess,
effect.
bro. But like,
But
in the least competitive conference in MLS is kind of rough. Like, it's pretty rough, bro. You know, just for everybody they signed, he's had 2 seasons to make it work. I don't know. Maybe I'm being harsh, but maybe I just don't rate Armas all that much. But I just feel like he has to be responsible for some of this.
I think because obviously the argument that we made for previous seasons is just they did a massive overhaul of players. You know, but it wasn't like they just like signed anybody off the street. You know, you get guys with experience. You brought in Jordy Mihailovic, and then you let him go to Toronto for some weird reason. And then you go to, you bring in Paxton Aronson, who thought it was a great idea.
Yeah.
But you also brought in guys with a lot of experience. You bring in a Reggie Cannon. You bring in, which I'm sure Boavista still owes money. And
they still owe Dallas money, by the way.
Yeah.
Jesus, man.
You all the guys that have like a lot of experience in this league, guys that did go to Europe, maybe didn't pan out as well. That obviously does not include to Paxton Aronson, but they come back and to get like that second win or that second shot. And I think a lot of these guys, it has been working out. And I mean, the thing is about Colorado, they're just a weird team. Like, you just don't really like. I can never really put my finger on whether or not they're going to be good or bad or mid. They have these performances where you're like, oh wow, they might be good, and then you're like, nah, I guess not. The team is weird. It's a weird team, which Armas is also kind of a weird dude. So I mean, there's nothing you can really say, but I just don't know if he's necessarily in a dangerous position right now with his job.
Most for me, it's getting warmer because, like, okay, you're just stagnant when you want to show that you're improving.
Yeah. It all depends on how the season nets out for them at the end of it all, right? Let's say they get into playoffs, maybe they just miss the play-in game, right? And they get into that first round.
They won't make it a playoffs somehow.
Bro, if they don't make it to playoffs, you fire that motherfucker tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah.
You have to look at that option because there's no excuse now.
I'm taking a look at their schedule. They have 2 games against teams that are around them in the standings. They have to win that. They have to win those 2 games. If they don't pick up at least 4 points in the next 4 games, I think you're gonna have to get rid of Chris Armas.
Yeah. And again, man, like I said, there's still even some pieces on Colorado that might move on, right? I think Navarro was heavily linked with teams down in Brazil in the window, right? So like I don't know. Again, if they can't figure it out, you got to wonder who's going to end up leaving this team. Maybe at that point the front office thinks it's time for a rebuild, get a new manager in. I don't know. It gets really dicey from there. So I agree. He absolutely has to do something with the rest of the season. I don't mind this. I think getting warmer is totally fine with me. Are we all good there?
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. Let's get it. This one might be short and sweet because it is the first interim manager that we're going to talk about from DC United, René Weiler, coming in to replace Troy Lasson. Troy was actually a hire that I thought was solid for DC United last season. Hasn't really just panned out. And again, it could be maybe this is one of those ones we throw into it's not your fault because, bro, DC has been down bad for I don't even know how long at this point. Like I don't. What is there to say about this team that we haven't already said in so many episodes of Wake Up MLS?
How many times have I was begging for some team to trade for Benteke?
Facts, bro. Facts, man.
Watch it be Columbus.
You can't even say Rooney left this team in shambles. It's literally like he was just part of the train wreck that I think is DC United at this point. So
I mean, they had a little bump when he was playing for them, and then after that, it just crashed.
Yeah.
So,
some may say the best years was with Ben Olsen.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, bro.
Well, okay, maybe not the best year.
Low bar.
Yeah, it's a little far.
That's not the best years. It was the Bruce Arena era. I know that. But I
Yeah.
mean, like in recency.
Oh yeah,
So-
compared to now, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Now, here's the kicker with René Weiler, right? Is his experience on the European side coming into this league, right? I think he was when they parted ways with Troy Lasson, it was like, okay, this guy's got what 15, 20 plus years of managerial experience. Came from the Swiss league, I think it was. Also hosted a trophy in that league as well. So like, kind of like that Sandro Schwartz type of profile as a manager coming into MLS. And so I feel like they were somewhat calculated and trying to bring that type of manager in to correct things, at least get the most out of the season that you possibly can. It's not all that much at the end of the day. So I don't know if they fire him. I don't know if they'd move on and try to find someone else to be the long-term solution at manager. He may get the job, but I don't know what has to happen to DC for that to happen. I don't know.
Close off strong. They got to close out the season strong, especially with the. Well, I mean, they probably won't. They probably will lose all the games that they have, but like if he closes off strong,
great analysis right there.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just don't know. Like maybe he's here, maybe it's getting warmer, but like I think they knew coming in that this is like a shitstorm that he's just walking into, bro. Like,
I think he's got grace for the rest of the year.
it's not his fault.
It's quite literally not his fault.
Like he's given a sandwich.
All right, the
and he
final
has to
stretch.
eat it.
The final stretch of games for DC is Inter Miami, Philadelphia, Charlotte, and Atlanta United. What is like the best possible scenario for him that will keep his and honestly, he's an interim, so I mean, it's not guaranteed he's even going to get an interview. But
I don't think he is the interim, is he?
Technically, like by definition, like came in the middle of the season as like the caretaker manager, but I think that like they were calculated.
Did they announce him as an interim, or they announced him as the manager?
He's listed as an interim on like MLS announced him as the new manager, but like for all intensive purposes, he's up there with the other guy from SKC that we're talking about, who is quite literally an interim after Vermees.
Only we could be asking these questions about a DC manager. Is he an interim? Is he a real manager?
I think, bro, honestly, I think any manager.
That's proof that it's not his fault.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think any manager will be considered interim.
Benteke is the only thing that is good in DC.
They can't even solidify his role.
Yeah, bro. I don't know. It's a shit show over there.
I don't know if anybody saw this, but just looking at their Twitter, because I was gonna go look to see if they announced him as an interim or as a permanent. But 9 hours ago, DC United has parted ways with general manager Ali McKay. We wish him all the best in the future. So they just fired their GM. So if he gets fired and the new GM wants to get their guy, it's totally not his fault.
Yeah, definitely not his fault. Definitely not his fault. All right, we'll leave that one there. I think it's super interesting just considering his background. I feel like it was more calculated. So maybe they'll build around him as the manager moving forward, but it's to be determined.
Maybe all right, man. Let's wasn't the answer,
Yeah, 1000%, bro. All right, man. Let's talk about the lads down in Austin. And the reason I want to bring this up is because, look, they're right now for full context, right? At the time of this recording, Austin is preparing for a U.S. Open Cup semifinal 24 hours from now against Minnesota United at Minnesota. I think this is a lifeline for Nico Estevez. I think considering where they are in the table is very flattering. Either 7th, maybe 8th, somewhere around there. Someone can fact check me on that. But they're also at the same time one of the lowest scoring sides in MLS, despite having spent some insane money these past couple windows. And so, granted, Brennan Vasquez is out, right? He tore his ACL, whatever the case may be. He's out for the rest of the year. But I mean, they dropped $12 million on Uzuni. They brought in several pieces to reinforce the back line. They got rid of Josh Wolf, brought in Nico Estévez, right, to kind of steer this ship into a new era. And frankly, bro, offensively, they might somehow be worse. Granted, Driussi's not there anymore, right? They moved that piece on as well, and that was the talisman for Austin FC for so long. But, bro, I've been shouting for this, man. Dallas just played Austin, beat them 2-0 at home. Nico Ball is probably some of the worst soccer you could watch. Like, anybody who's watched Austin FC knows what I'm talking about, bro. They just don't score that many goals. They play very pragmatic, a lot of crosses coming in, very little build up from the middle of the park. And so I don't know, man. I don't know how long he lasts at Austin. If they get knocked out by Minnesota and they barely squeak in the playoffs and just don't do much, like how much time does Rodo Borrell give, and then Austin FC front office give Nico Estevez before they decide, hey, we need a manager who can do more with these pieces that we've given him.
Well, they give Wolf a long time, so just imagine that.
But they didn't give Wolf pieces, bro. He was starting fucking Maxi Urruti up front.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, bro, he one of their best players is a bench player for your side now. Right? I mean, just think about it. But again, Danny Pereira is probably now their best player to an extent in the middle of the park. And there's rumors he might, he's attracting attention from other teams abroad, other clubs abroad. He might end up leaving. And if he moves on, Owen Wolf could be probably like their most impactful player right now. So I don't know, man. I think this one's, to me, it's like so 50-50. Like, it all depends on how Austin finishes, but they have not been impressive this season, despite all of the hype around bringing in guys like Bucati, Ozuni, Vasquez, Biro, all these guys that, again, some of them are all-stars, but all these guys that were supposed to really kind of turn Austin around and get them back to that Western Conference final form that we saw a few years ago. So with all of that context in mind, where do you put them? Getting warmer?
I think right now getting warmer just because of the fact that they are in a semifinal for the U.S. Open Cup. And I think as long as they're in the playoffs, I feel like if you're in the playoffs, you at least saved yourself like at least a few more, like where everyone's like, oh, well, hey, guys in the playoffs. Even though like everything that Jose said about how this team plays, it's pretty rough to watch.
Yeah,
there's not much quality in it. Is it a breath of fresh air versus Wolf? I don't really know at this point. But I mean, it wasn't interesting. The thing with Austin was what was so weird to me about it was how these guys were linked to all these managers, all these like interesting managers that could potentially come to Austin FC, and then for all that to just be Nico Estévez. It's like you did all this hyping just to bring in this guy.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah, I don't know, especially after he got fired, right, from a team who quite literally right now sits below Austin on the table. So, yeah, I agree. I think it's just getting warmer. But I think if they get knocked out of that cup, it quickly, from my perspective, moves to here because I just don't see them getting anywhere close to being relevant in the Western Conference side of the playoff bracket. So I think fans will be not calling for Nico to get fired, but really putting a shit ton of pressure on him.
I think it also depends. Like some front offices will care more about like entertaining soccer, and I feel like that was a big thing in Austin. When they first came out, it was like scoring a lot of goals. They like that excitement. So if the fan base is so fed up because it's so boring, and they also have high expectations of being like a top 4 team in the West, and he doesn't really improve them that much, then I could definitely see your argument. Like you also said, I agree that they did spend a lot, like 11 million on one striker, 14 million on another striker. It is a lot of money to have 5 goals from each of them. Like that's not good.
Not good. And what I will say too about Austin, bro, something to keep in mind, right? Bro, they have 31 goals scored this season. The only team that has scored less on the Western side is Salt Lake, right? And bro, outside of that, like the bottom of the barrel teams on the East are the ones who are pumping in those numbers. So, like, I don't know, man. This is not what you paid for. This is not what you paid for. Like, I think there's so much pressure on Austin to make it to that U.S. Open Cup final, so the fans have something to believe in. Because I think the faith maybe is dwindling. And keep in mind, Better Than Faithful are very loud. They're very vocal. So I think that if they,
I think like a good example of what this is going on is when Wilmer Cabrera was with the Houston Dynamo. And that was in that 2018 U.S. Open Cup run. That team was awful, like god awful. It was like it was rough. It sucked watching an MLS game in general because of how bad that team was performing. I don't know if they were the worst team that year, but it pretty close. And then obviously they were making this run for the U.S. Open Cup, and at this point, I mean, even I was like, you know what, I'm just throwing all my eggs on this stupid U.S. Open Cup run, and I mean, yeah, and I think that saved Wilmer Cabrera a little bit more time, but I mean, the following season, obviously, it didn't go his way, or it didn't go his way at all. So I mean,
Yeah.
And also it helped that they did go on an MLS Cup playoff run where they made it to the Western Conference Final. So I think things help, like at least help Wilmer Cabrera like survive a little bit longer. But obviously, his career is gone where it's gone now. So just I think that's a very good parallel to what's going on with Austin FC.
Yeah, I agree. So right now, I think it's getting warmer. Like I said, I think you can't put up the numbers that you're putting up right now with the pieces that you have, even with the ones that are injured. Like I said, there's so much money that's been spent, so it's probably getting a little bit warmer. But for now, he's safe, kind of where he is. All right, man. We'll get to Neville. Don't get me wrong, but I do want to start with the other interim manager really quick, Kerry Zavagnin over at Sporting Kansas City. Bro, SKC has this habit, I think, and obviously it makes sense with how long Vermees was there and in charge and running the entire operation from a club's perspective. But the interim is another KC, I don't know what you want to call it, faithful, diehard. At the end of the day, like he spent almost his entire career with the KC Wizards in the earliest days of MLS, had time under Vermees, and now he's trying to help steady the ship and close out the season in a respectable fashion. It's pretty hard just considering where SKC really was in the table when Vermees got fired. But they got the slightest bit better. So maybe he has a shot at retaining his role going into next season. But honestly, bro, I don't know. Like SKC, I don't know how that front office thinks, but it looks like they have a type. It looks like they really want a manager who comes from the club, right? Who lives and breathes what they're all about. So how do you feel about this one?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they go out and sign somebody with more MLS experience than him as a head coach.
Yeah. Head coach experience is probably the most important thing. I think he's got a ton of MLS experience in general all the way around, but I do think that like having a strong, experienced manager is probably what they might be looking for. That's why I feel like, and combine that with the fact that like in 13th, 14th place, whatever it is in the West, I feel like he's somewhere here. Like he's one step away from just getting that call and being like, hey, we're going to go in a direction.
Yeah, I mean, on FotMob, he's listed as an assistant coach for about 4 seasons.
I think it's kind of hard. I think it's hard to really like grade an interim manager because I don't think many people view them as like a guy that's going to have a job. I mean, and more often than not, guys that were interim managers, when they do get that manager job from whatever they were able to do the previous season, it doesn't necessarily bode too well from what I remember much of interim managers. But I think in the reality, they're interim managers because one, they're not entirely sure if what this guy brings to the table, and two, it's not as big of a gamble versus hiring a manager right away.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, look at Valentino. We talked about it, right? I mean, he literally did the most you can do in that position and still could not retain his job. They still went out and hired Ronny Deila. So I agree with that. I think for like I said, I don't know if he's sacked in the morning, but I don't want to put him down there because I feel like Ronny has underachieved in a massive way, but I feel like he's right on the cusp for all the reasons that you're stating.
I wouldn't be surprised if he gets his old job.
Oh, just the assistant coach again?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually a fair point. That could very well happen.
Prime example, Kenny Bundy. He was the interim manager for the Dynamo when they moved on from Paulo Nagamura, which I don't know what the hell they were thinking about. I don't know what the hell that was all about.
Yeah.
But they hired him for some weird reason. And obviously Kenny Bundy took over. The Dynamo actually looked really good under his helm, and then he ends up managing Dynamo too, and now he's an assistant coach with the first team. So, I mean, like I said, my viewpoint with interim managers, they don't tend to get the top job just yet in their careers.
Yeah, I agree. So I think we'll keep it here. This seems fair. And look, if they do get him back into that assistant manager position, I'm sure he'll be content just fine. I'm sure they've set some sort of expectations with him early on. So
there is one point that I think that like the owners, they probably don't know. I guess just because Peter Vermees, he was there since like 08, 07 as like the head coach and like sporting director. So maybe the owners probably want something like that, or because Vermees was there for almost 2 decades, and he was there like just like running the whole thing by himself as like the sporting director and the head coach. So I don't know, maybe they might adapt.
he also has the hardware to prove it, though.
Yeah.
Like, there's not many managers that you can sit there and say, like, he can also coach the team while also figure out, like, player acquisitions. And there's not that many guys. I mean, like, off the top of my head, like, Dominic Kinnear is one of those guys you could think of. I mean, Bruce Arena, I would say, is also another guy that you could probably say can also do both jobs. But there's not many guys in reality that can really do both. And I think that if Sporting Kansas State thinks they can find just another guy that can do what Peter Vermees did, which I believe Peter Vermees initially was front office, if I'm not correct. I believe he started out as a front office guy, then became the manager, and just kept the job ever since.
Yeah, but I think that's so MLS 1.0 like way of thinking. I think they might just branch out and get a sporting director and then let that sporting director hire their head coach.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't think they're gonna go. I don't think the ownership's gonna be like, yeah, let's go get ourselves another Peter Vermees. Which, to be fair, there's probably not going to be another Peter Vermees.
No, you can't find that guy. Yeah,
I think the closest one would be Bruce Arena, and he's at San Jose.
Agreed. All right, good shouts. Good discussion all the way around. Let's move on to my favorite guy, Phil Neville. Phil Neville. I'm gonna give my take really quick, and then we'll let you guys jump in. But I think, bro, like, depending on how Portland, to me, it's somewhat of a Nico Estevez conversation, but slightly warmer because of the fact that, one, he's been there longer in his position, right? Look at how last season ended. I think a lot of fans will point to the fact that Evander has moved on. Sure, fine. But what they did was they went out and spent $20 million on a bunch of new players since Evander moved on, and it hasn't really improved the team. Look at the table, right? They're like, what, 6th or 7th? They're basically, again, a slightly improved version of Austin FC, at least offensively. But they went out and spent $20 million on a few different players, and then there's still free transfers they made outside of that. I think there's like 7 or 8 players they signed since the season ended last year, and it hasn't improved them really at all whatsoever. And to me, that all comes down to coaching. I think so many fans in the comments of these videos will ask me why I feel the way I feel about Phil Neville. I'll be plain and simple. I just don't think he levels you up as a manager. I really don't. I think you have to have the right pieces with him. And even then, as this season is proving out to be, it still may not work out, right? Again, he had an MVP candidate running his entire offense last year, and they got absolutely throttled at home 5-0 to conclude their season. And I can see the same thing happening again this year. I really can. I'm not scared of the Portland Timbers. I think I made a shout earlier in the year where they hadn't beaten a good team all season long. That's maybe happened once or twice since then. And again, to me, that all comes down to coaching, especially when you consider the pieces the front office is giving you. So,
yeah, I think your argument is like, I think that backs itself. Even going back to his Inter Miami days, I think he was the beneficiary of Campana and Higuain just hitting good form towards the end of 2022, and then once the playoffs hit, they just couldn't get anything going, and they were outclassed on the night. So I think your case is I think it's been proven in the past at a different club, and once 2023 came in, he just couldn't get those boys winning anymore.
I mean, would he have ever had an MLS job if it wasn't for David Beckham?
Absolutely not.
Facts, big facts. Kind of feels very Mascherano-esque to me. We'll talk about him. But yeah, got put in a position because of relationships. And I'm not saying that he can't coach, not saying he can't manage, but at the end of the day, bro, like, again, if he fails upward, let's say Portland lets him go and he finds his way to another MLS club that's somehow even better, part of me will be mind blown because I just don't get what these front offices see. But at the end of the day, it's MLS, and I think that the league does recycle managers pretty heavily. But I just don't rate Neville. I don't. I think there are other managers that could do more with this team right now.
I don't know. I kind of have an interesting question. What do you think he does if he were to get fired from Portland? Do you think I don't know, does he go to punditry, or does he just find another job elsewhere?
I don't know, man. I think part of me, I think there's a reason why.
Last thing we need is another Neville on a mic. That's the last thing.
Wait, you're not a fan of Gary? You're not a fan of Gary on the mic? That's crazy. Yeah, I'm right there with you, bro. I don't know. I'm like, punditry, it pays nicely. There's less pressure to perform at the end of the day, right? You don't have to worry about setting up tactics and signing players. At the end of the day, you just got to talk about the game. And I'm sure he can do that at a very high level. So that might be the way. And I also think part of me feels like there's a reason why he hasn't sought another job outside of MLS, right? Maybe those offers just aren't there. Maybe he hasn't proven himself enough yet. And I don't know if he's going to get that opportunity, man. Because like Davi said, he's been pretty unsuccessful in 2 different stints now.
Mm-hmm.
John, anything to add?
I mean, statistically, he is down there with your Robin Frasers and your Chris Armases and your Ben Olsens in their, time in MLS and how many points per game they've actually accrued. So I think he is. I agree with you. I don't think he makes the team better. I think Portland was once a great feared place to go to Providence Park, and he has taken that away from them, and it's very meh.
Yeah.
And until he leaves, I agree with you. I think he talks a great talk, but when it comes to actual winning of games and the way, the way actually coaching, I don't think he improves his players. And Evander, I think, is a big telling point that he wanted to get away from Phil Neville. I think is the main reason that he wanted to leave Portland.
Yeah, I can totally see it.
He didn't he was happy to stay in MLS, but he was like, get me out of Portland.
And he went to Ohio.
If you know anything about Portland's fan culture, it's nothing to do with the club. It's a wonderful club, so it's probably Phil Neville.
He went to Ohio of all places as a Brazilian. I don't think
right. You forced him to go to Ohio. Like
this man went to Ohio.
Bro said, "Give me that Skyline chili. Give me some of that Skyline."
Nah. I'll take Skyline chili over anything Phil Neville is serving any day of the week.
I mean, to be fair, English cuisine isn't that good either. So,
whoa, chill, Davi.
Except for breakfast. I think
fair enough.
I think Brits have really done breakfast fairly well. Also, I can't say anything. Frijoles is a big part of my diet, so
I will second that. Yeah, bro. I think this is, like I said, this kind of, for me, it's just appropriate. I think if he, again, ends in the same spot this season, bro, you got to have real conversations about whether or not he's the right manager to lead this team, just with how much investment has come back around after the Evander sale. All right, man. Let's get to the final 3 here. Robin Fraser. This might be a quick one. Toronto.
Honestly, I feel like that scene from Office Space where it's like, what do you do?
And they're still giving him pieces, bro. Mihalovic still wanted to go out there, right? After they sold the Italian. So I don't know if you're rebuilding a team, do you rebuild it around Robin Fraser?
Mihalovic on the pitch.
I guess you're building off of Mihalovic, right?
You kind of have to, right? But as a manager, do you give him, like Robin Fraser, that manager specifically, do you give him more pieces that he wants to build around Mihalovic, or do you just scrap this thing and say, Georgie, who do you want to play for?
I don't understand why we have recycled MLS coaches who aren't even good in the first place, and he is in that category, in my opinion. I think he's been like, what has he done in MLS? And then like he's had multiple clubs.
I mean,
he got Colorado the first seed.
Yeah. I mean,
but still, even then,
I think the only reason he was hired
in one season, and that buys you years and years and job after job. Like it's the same thing.
I agree.
Porter. No one should hire Porter now, but somebody will, and that's a problem in MLS, I think.
Yeah, I agree to an extent. I think Porter could be decent, but he does need the right pieces around him. And like, I don't know, coaches should not be catered to. I think that they need to be a level up to what you have.
I think Fraser was only hired because he was an assistant to Vanney in the golden era of Toronto.
But it's not even just that. It's like like John said, it's just like MLS has this tendency to be like, you know what? You know this league. Fuck it. Like, I don't even care what your record is. Let's run it back. Let's see what we can give you. And mainly because in MLS 1.0, MLS 2.0, there were other managers who came from abroad who could not figure this league out. And so I don't know if owners are like, you know what? That's a little bit intimidating. Maybe we'll just invest in someone who does know this league despite their track record. But I don't know, man. I think
ever since Vanney got fired, I mean, they've just been hiring coaches that have MLS experience.
Yeah,
and it hasn't worked out. They had Armas, they had Bradley, and now they have Fraser, and it's just not working out. Maybe getting the Italians out of there will change it, but I mean,
it hasn't changed it all that much. I mean, I know it's a small sample size, but it hasn't changed it all that much.
I mean, maybe give them a full season, but who knows? But I mean, ultimately, I think you got to build the team around. I mean, they're willing to spend. Toronto's an FO that's willing to spend. So
yeah. I think Toronto's in a position right now where they can rebuild, and that includes the manager.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think
that's where my head is at.
before the manager would need to know a lot about MLS as well, because they would also have to be involved in the roster building mechanics.
Yep.
But so much now is like if you have a real GM and you have all that set up, like they don't really need to know all of that. They can just come in and coach a team. Like as much as I don't like Mascherano's example, like you think he knows anything about MLS roster building mechanics? No, but like
Zero.
they're still able to put together a roster because they have all the other guys. So
I mean,
maybe that's an idea that like it's kind of old school that you
I
need
think
to know
you
this
can
league.
use Dean Smith right now as
There you go.
like a decent example, as like like the real thing about like the managers, like the transition from whatever what everyone else is doing versus what MLS does, it's just the playoff aspect. I think that's really where you still got to play your matches. You still got to get your 3 points. Like you still got to get in a position to put yourself in a playoff spot. It's just that part that I feel like it's like lost in translation. Like how do you approach a playoff game versus a match that would put you in first place?
Yeah. And the
agree.
travel, like a lot of the leagues around the
Mhm.
world don't have to travel as much as we do here. And I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree. So I don't know, man. Robin Fraser can't continue to like just fail upwards. Like there's no way. Like at some point, this league has to mature to a point where it starts to bring in some fresh blood on the managerial front, even if you're promoting from within. So I think he should be sacked in the morning. I think
They
that
spent
Toronto
like
should just
what,
rebuild.
8 million on Mihailovic too, right? Or something like
yeah,
that.
I believe so.
So
Yeah, 8, 9.
if that doesn't work out, that's a fair chunk of change.
Mm-hmm. And you have to make sure that investment is worthwhile, right? And that means that you need a manager that understands him, that can get the best out of him. And I can't think of a scenario where Fraser was able to do that with any one player.
Yeah, I think to Toronto, they usually give their managers a season and a half, and if it doesn't work within season and a half, they're like 18 months they're out of there.
But historical track records, I think with how times are changing in the league, I don't know if that's super relevant. I think at the end of the day, like again, they had never gone after some of the players they brought in, right? Guys like Insigne, guys like Bernardeschi, and they went after it. It bit them in the ass, and now they might play it a little bit safer on some fronts when it comes to player acquisition. But I do think that they may take another risk with the manager.
I don't know. Do you think that Mihailovic transfer is kind of like telling in that way, where it's like, let's go a little bit more conservative, somebody that knows the league best, and probably is not going to be as big of a locker room like
Maybe it's also
threat.
probably a sign like, hey, Robin, we're giving you this phenomenal player, okay? A young in his prime player who has told us he wants to be here. He is leaving Colorado and his DP spot to take over that spot here, despite the fact that on paper we're a lot worse. So if you can't make this work, I have to think that like the front office would say, we're going to find someone who can. I think that this is like a prove it to us. We gave you an insane player. Now go show us that you're the guy that we should be investing in moving forward.
Exactly. I think this is an ultimatum move.
Yeah, I agree. All right, man. Last two. Bruce Arena. This is an interesting one. Very interesting.
I don't want to say it's not his fault. I don't want to say there's definitely some fault to him, but
getting warmer, maybe
getting warmer, I feel like is the right place for him. I think if you're San Jose, this is better than last year for sure. So like
I mean, you're not wrong, but yeah,
you're in the discussion. You can score a lot of goals. You just give up a lot too. So
55-55.
The thing is, though, is that like they allowed him to go after all of his old players at New England. He brought some of those guys in. If it doesn't work, and let me ask you this: if they don't make the play in for whatever reason, do they even think about it, pulling the trigger on a new manager?
No.
They're on fire. They're on fire because they brought his players that he wanted.
Yeah, but I don't think they fire him.
Like if they miss a play and like still this is like miles better than last year. So I mean, there's proven progress. There's some progression. John wants to say something.
I mean, it's the same situation as Caleb Porter, though. Like, they brought all the guys in for his team, and they're doing a little better, but not much. I think a lot of Bruce, it rides off of his legacy and who he is, like, and the fact that I agree, San Jose's bar was so low that he didn't really need to raise it that high. So I think they're a team that's just comfortable, and Bruce Arena will be a comfortable manager for them. So why would they You know, I don't see them having real ambitions to win MLS as a San Jose team, honestly. Do you see that? Because they don't spend money like they do.
Yeah, I agree. I actually agree with that. Yeah, I don't think he gets fired. I think he's like a legacy manager, and he'll ride that as long as he possibly can. But at the same time, at some point, this has to pan out. Maybe they reinforce the back line in the offseason. Who knows? But with everything they've given him already to turn this around pretty quickly, and he's known sort of for doing that, I think he has to start delivering at some point. But he's probably so ingrained into MLS, I don't think San Jose actually fired.
They do have a couple of fixtures with teams around them, so they might. So and they also play the two best teams in the West in San Diego and Vancouver. So, I mean, I think you'll just have to see and find out how they finish out the last 4 games of the season.
Yeah, I agree. All right, man. Last one that we'll wrap up is Mascherano, everyone's favorite manager to talk about these days. We obviously know what he's doing with Inter Miami, with how much pressure there is on him coming into his stint as the manager. Bro,
it's his first job, by the way. Like his first team senior job.
And he gets Messi, Busquets, Alba, Suarez, and basically any other player they might want to bring in, because he's going to listen to whatever Messi wants to do anyway.
Basically, any Argentinian that he wants will come in.
Like, I mean, obviously he's not related to Messi, but this is as nepo as a hire as possible.
I agree. So for that reason, though, if I imagine that there was some sort of expectation set when they brought him in, right? Because Tata still delivered something. At the end of the day, they got knocked out by Atlanta, but they still delivered a shield, a record points total. It's not what Miami signed up for, a Leagues Cup win as well. It's not what they signed up for, what they originally thought was going to happen, but he did deliver silverware. And so the fact that Mascherano has yet to do that, the Leagues Cup final was supposed to be that moment for them. They got absolutely smacked in the face by Seattle. And so how do we feel about Mascherano now going into what I feel is a very high pressure filled environment heading into the playoffs? I think Miami has to do something for him to keep his job. No,
cheeks are on fire.
Yeah, I think so.
I got a feeling it's a deja vu situation here with Inter Miami.
Really?
I think they're going to get knocked out again. They're going to go in first place. Yeah, I feel like they're going to get knocked out
in the first round again.
Yep.
Damn. That'd be crazy. If it happens 2 seasons in a row, is it the manager's fault or is it the players?
As of right now, they would be paired up with Nashville.
Just give me Sam Surridge, bro. Give me Sam Surridge in that one. Honda might be on something. Honda might know ball.
Oh, I wasn't referring to that.
If the season ends right now, they're going up against Nashville. They're going to Cashville twice.
Yep.
Because we still have that stupid 3-game best of 3 series.
But yeah, they
go
have
ahead,
3.
Go ahead.
Oh, Hector, go.
I was gonna say, yeah, finish your take. I want to hear what the end of that was.
Honda, go.
Okay, Honda, go ahead.
They got 3 games in hand, right?
Yeah.
Let's say, I mean, the referees are already with Inter Miami, so they're probably going to win those 3 games. Sorry, Davi. I know one of them is yours, but
no, they won't win up here. We play up to the big teams.
They almost beat Inter Miami in week 1, right? Was it week 1 or week 2?
Yeah, without DPs. If they didn't pull 11 minutes out of their ass, we would have won.
Oh, the stoppage time. I forgot about that.
Literally last 30 seconds they equalized.
Yeah. Let's say Inter Miami still comes in first somehow, right? From what it seems like. It always happens. New York, they get the game in hand. You know, they go above Columbus. Chicago, Columbus in the play-in. Because I think Orlando's going to make it to the playoffs as well.
I agree.
Let's do my other boy John some justice. Somehow Chicago Fire beats Columbus Crew. Right?
No, yeah. I do not need to hear that. Like I don't like John comes in not you John. You're great, John. The other John. Like
Chicago John.
Like and I love John, you know, he's my doppelganger. But like I think like I mean this guy was like he can go full Delulu sometimes, and I admire that. But if they were able, like, this is his Super Bowl. Like, I mean, this is gonna be all we're
This
gonna
will
get
be.
on how they eliminated Inter Barca. So I don't really need that. I don't really need that in my life.
Fair, bro. Fair. Look, guys, I
Nah,
think Mascherano is one of the most like under pressure managers for all the reasons that we stated, but I think the most important was what Hector mentioned. First managerial role, the most nepo hire probably of all time. And for that reason, it's like, bro, we're giving you the keys to the castle. If you do not deliver, it's so easy to go out and find someone who has more experience than you, because it's literally everybody. Everybody out there has more experience than Mascherano right now. And so I think it's just like getting Messi's approval on whoever comes next. But if they don't deliver, it's going to be on him at the end of the day. They're not going to start firing the Barca boys, right? They're going to start shipping off those players, even though it might be a decent move.
No,
yeah, I think it's all
thinking about retiring.
Yeah, facts, bro.
If they don't win MLS Cup, right, or Supporter Shield, or then he doesn't go anywhere, like they just keep him. What is that? Does that just confirm to everybody that Messi is officially running the club?
Yes,
1000%.
Especially if Messi like leverages that, like he hasn't signed a new contract yet, right?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think they came to an agreement.
There's all these rumors of it, but nothing official.
I don't know. They're saying till like 2028.
Maybe
the extension.
I thought it was 27, but it could be. It could be.
Yeah, it was like 27, 28. It was more than just 26. Which
I think there was a small extension that was announced. But again, I don't know if they're like, you know what? If we don't win anything this year, despite the fact that we're in a real position to do so, gave you some additional players on top of the Barca boys that you already had access to, and you delivered nothing after we fired the guy who gave us a couple pieces of silverware, it would all but confirm that Messi's just hands at the wheel. He's absolutely driving the ship, and he feels comfortable with Mascherano. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It says a lot about that franchise, that club, if they decide to keep him after delivering nothing.
Here's the thing as well, too. Without the Barca boys, you think Mascherano would be in this position that he's in right now?
No,
absolutely
fucking
not.
Way. No fucking way. Zero chance that happens. He's only there because Messi's there.
Like Tata with this team probably would have been doing way better this year.
I agree with that.
It's crazy they got rid of him. That was a wild move. Stupid move.
If the Barca boys weren't here, Caleb Porter is going to be the next manager of Inter Miami.
Bro, you're not wrong about that, actually. It's such a really good shout. It's a really good shout.
Messi leaves and they bring back Phil Neville to return to
no fucking way
states.
they bring back Phil Neville, bro. No shot. That divorce needed to happen. It absolutely needed to happen. There's no way that happened. All right, man. Look, we've been here for an hour, guys. This is a fantastic list. I agree with kind of how we put everybody in here. I think it all makes sense. Guys at home, do not pay attention so much to the order, just more so where we have each of the managers within their respective tiers. If you disagree at all, let us know in the comments down below. Really curious how you feel about every one of these managers that we consider to be somewhat at risk. When you think about what that off-season movement is going to look like once the playoffs come to an end, and I'm sure we'll see some of that even before that point, once the regular season comes to an end. So keep an eye on all of that as we continue to kind of move forward here. But that's it. I'm going to conclude the episode here, kind of bring everything back into the fold. But again, guys, down in the description down below, I'm going to link all of my co-hosts here, of course. Again, go follow them. Go check out their content, each of their channels covering respective teams. So again, go check all those guys out. Let me know what you think. And again, if there's any at-risk manager you feel like we should have included here, for whatever reason, I really want to know. Before the show today, we talked a lot about what this list should look like before we actually teed everything up to the tier list. I feel like we might have left one or two out. So if you feel like you know who those might be, let us know in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, do all of those great things. We appreciate your support on Wake Up MLS and GOLZ TV. And so from everybody here, my name is Jose. That's John. That's Hector. That's Davi. That's Honda. We'll catch you guys next time.